Good morning, everybody, or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome. I'm just going to share my screen with you. For those of you that want to record, by all means, just send Mark a private message if you have not already done so, and he will access it. One of the things that I'm going to be talking about today is called building better basics. Now, I'm not talking about building a new basic program or anything like that. And this will become clear as I go through. One of the biggest complaints, or sorry, not the biggest complaint, but one of the biggest issues of complaint that we have today lies in the realm of teaching new dancers. Now, when I say new here in this context, what I'm referring to is new at each and every program. Okay, so whenever you start a program, you're a new dancer to that program. So this applies to all, but I'm going to be using the basic program just as the foundation analogy. The issue that we've got is we learn and we learn and we learn, but we don't really get to use much of what we learn. We don't ever see after the class is over again. In any other group activity, it's a matter of someone teaching you by showing you something, teaching the parts, learning them together, using what you know of all the things you've learned and enjoying that activity. Okay. Now, at that point, you can actually enjoy the activity for what it is, or if you want, you can increase your skills and advance to a different level of use of that activity, be it getting into competition for archery or poker or whatever. Now, square dancing has that fundamental same philosophy behind it. You get taught, you get shown, you show how to put it together, and then you enjoy it. But we've lost the key part of that philosophy, and that is the to do and enjoy. Now, this looks a bit complicated, but it's not really. Every time you commence a new program, now this is the learning curve that goes on almost all things, but I've compared it and focused it right down to specifically on square dancing. Now, every time you commence a new program, there's an inherent learning curve, and it's important to understand the issues with our current square dance learning curve. So we'll start with the one on top, which is the red. In red, what you see is the desired learning curve and the path in general terms that each caller aspires to create with their dancers, and about which almost all of our documentation surrounding square dancing is written, regardless of whether it's basic or SSD or mainstream plus advanced challenge, whatever. They all follow the same path in theory of start, grow, learn, mature in the activity, enjoy it, and then decide on a progression path. Whether you want to stay there, you want to go up, you want to come back down and go back up, or you want to go down and come back up later, all of that. That's the way it's written, that's the way it's designed, that's the way all of our documentation goes. We start each activity as a new dancer at whatever program. We grow into the activity, we mature in that activity with what we've bought, we enjoy the activity at each stage, each movement, each progressive stage through the movements, and each program level. And then over a period of time, we use it. What we enter into is what's called that steady state. That's where we enjoy it and we celebrate all the nuances of what we spent so much time and energy in learning. That is applicable to any physical group activity. After a while, the learning aspect will begin to diminish, and then just like any other group activity, as a dancer, you would become either less innovative or you'd make a choice of whether to stay, start a new growth curve, pretty much whether to start a new growth curve based on what you know, or just enjoy the activity with its current values. And you also have that choice of starting a new growth curve and saying, you know what, I'm not ready for it. I'm going to go back to where I enjoy it. Now, in green below, what we have is our current square dance learning curve. In the green in the lower learning curve, you see the growth curve is imposed on the dancers by the callers. And unfortunately, some older and more more experienced dancers. What they've done is they subjected our dancers over the last, I've got people in the waiting room here. We subjected our dancers to this over about the last 30 or so years. What has happened, it details these measurable outcomes and the inevitable consequences of this non-linear progression curve. The top one, you see how it goes up in a line, they grow, they learn, they mature, they enjoy it, and then they have a choice. They can either start something new using what they know and build on it, or they can enjoy and come back and start here, or they can drop down, enjoy here, come back, start, or even go back up to where they were. In our current, they start here and then suddenly it's gone. What happens? What's happened to them? It details these consequences of a nonlinear progression curve, and it doesn't make use of the time, which is this factor across the bottom, that time requirement for maturity and choice. What it does is it subjects the dancers to a pace of growth and learning, and then partway through, usually about the midpoint where they start and grow, they have to learn something else. And they start another growth curve, and they meet somewhere in the middle here, but they're in the middle of this other growth curve when they start something else, and they meet in the middle. And you notice the amount of projected participation begins to diminish. This is the same amount of people. This is less. These are dropping off. These are dropping off. These are dropping off. And you also notice that there's no line for dropping down for enjoyment because it's bits and pieces. What has happened is the two things that have happened are the significant shortening of the enjoyment time at maturity and the lack of choice for progression. That's been changed to either a stay or a go. And you'll also notice at the apex or maturity of each program level in the ladder, there's no venue in most cases to just enjoy that time because that choice has been taken away. This should be the enjoyment phase, but it's not an enjoyment phase. I'm partway through a new growth phase. I don't know what differentiates this from this program from this, but this is what's occurring over the same amount of time. And what happens is the dancers have a choice of get left behind and quit, or push, push, push with very little enjoyment until maturity, until it's finally reached for those few that manage to stick it out. That is a problem that we have known, we have identified, it has been discussed for over 30 years and is still in existence. So what I talk about is fixing the problem by building better basics. And you have to understand what is a basic. Now, some of the old masters, and indeed some of the current old masters of today, still refer to individual movements as basics. And there's a reason for that. The meaning of basic movement concept of what is being taught from the standard position and from which, when it's known, can be expanded to accommodate it and be developed for use in other ways without changing the basic that is that foundation movement. What this means, of course, is regardless of the dancer program, you as a caller should have a growth plan that is developmental, structured, logical, and designed for the dancers to learn the basic, i.e. the movement, and grow with it in a manner that has value for them. Okay? It's not about you, it's about them. And they have to understand that basic movement in order to use it and have value for it. And the only way to ensure this is to direct the program solely for the dancers to start, grow, and mature by incorporating each basic applicable in a logical sequence. What this means is the program is for the dancers and not for the callers. The caller's job is to design a structure around that or a schedule around that program and use it effectively so it builds on itself. So what this means is you as a caller will have a plan of action and progression, and you're ready to stick to it. That's the hardest part. Coming up with the plan is the easy part. Coming up with progression is the easy part. All that work's done for you. Sticking to it is the hard part. It means that you fully understand what each step in that progression does, and more importantly, you understand how and what you are introducing ties in with what you've already taught or what's already known. Not what isn't known, what is known and what you've already taught them. Note here, it's important to put the emphasis on how it ties in with what they know rather than what you will be teaching them. Okay, this is called logical progression. You also have to understand that the basics of structure and mechanics of each individual movement, that's the basic. You've got to understand how it works, what sets it up, what do I do afterwards? That's your call analysis. You have to know that. And you have to understand that you, as a caller, must have the ability, or you've at least prepared, to use what you've taught with what is known to create organized, structured sequences that are comfortable and flowing for the dancers. And finally, you've got to continue to use that movement, that basic that you've taught, through the extensions of the movement, and that you follow the logical process of building for the dancer success rather than some arbitrary calendar or schedule, and definitely not for the ease of the caller to deliver that singing call that has the wow factor with a movement that has absolutely no connection to known choreography at that point. And we do this too often. When you have a good plan, it's going to have that inherent flexibility in it. But as it's at its core is the making use of the known as a foundation for building in a logical and a progressive manner, one block on top of the next in a way that makes sense to the dancers. If you decide to risk your plan and the dancers for the sake of that wow singing call movement or that figure that makes it easier for you to call, what you've done is you deviate from that logical progression of the dancers by throwing so much at the dancers with no foundation. Your growth curve drops off, and suddenly you're working with movement basics that have no foundation or tie to what is already known. Remember, for the dancers, the known is comfortable. They don't mind stepping away from it for a little bit, but they've got to come back to it. Everything's got to build and flow until there's an exception where it doesn't build on something, but you're going to use it with other things. Okay. The risk of doing this is like giving someone progressively higher hurdles to race. You know, they may finish the race, but even if they're likely to finish they're going to finish last. And the reason is they're going to be tripping over each hurdle in frustration as they try and get through it all. They're going to get through it because, hey, you've promoted this. This is what we want to do. Well, this is what you're doing to the dancers when you start deviating from a logical progression. If you deviate from that plan of progression for the ease of you as a caller or your calling, then quite simply, you do not have a plan because you've thrown it out. And we all know if you plan to fail, you've failed to plan. So it's essential when we talk basic essentials and we talk basic meaning of movement. It's essential that a caller recognizes that regardless of your dancer capability, you as a caller must know what the foundation of each individual movement you will teach is, where it starts, where it finishes, and what you can do to get there, and from there, what you can do. And you have to know that within the limitations of what is already known. Regardless of the program you're introducing, this process is going to stand you very well and very successful. At a new dancer class, this concept starts with the basic of structure. Who's who in the square? Where are they in the square? Who's your partner? What does it mean? You know, what does standard mean? Walking, moving to the beat. The relationships at the basic level. Partners, corners, opposites, right-hand dancers. Turning directions, right and left. Arm turns and interaction. All those things are the basic foundations. And with those basic foundations, almost everything will flow from them. That's why it's important to spend a little bit of time on them. Now, I'm not saying anything new here, but once we get past the preliminaries of introduction, these basic foundations are likely well planned out and have some kind of structure and design to take you from what you know to what you can build on. So it's absolutely crucial that you develop your own, or if using a guided program such as SSD or the Collar Lab teaching orders or whatever, that your dancers are the key focus in that program development, not the amount of choreography that you can get through. Okay, your dancers have to be the focus and they have to be successfully able to progress, not you with a piece of paper and a schedule that is imposed upon you. You've got to start together with a foundation of learning to identify each other, stand, handholds, walking together, and from there, everything is going to build and progress. Ideally, everything you do is going to tie into what has been done in one way or another, either as a component part of what the new movement is, or as a logical progression or setup to a new movement, what is already known. And it's going to take you to what is already known. So the known, the unknown, back to the known. We do this all the time. It's a basic fundamental of calling. That's how the dancers learn, and that's how the progression curve works. And it's the only way that it works well, is to start, grow, mature, enjoy what you've learned, mature with it, and then make that choice. The important thing here is You've got to understand your plan. You've got to understand your program. You've got to understand your structure, and you've got to understand the progression and why it is the way it is. Regardless of what program you use, if you meet those criteria, you're going to give the dancers time to start, grow, mature, and enjoy each movement and each progression leading through each program at their pace, and you are going to be successful as a caller. So let's talk progression sequencing. This slide may look a little confusing, but there's a reason for it. One key element of success is the caller's development of the ability to create a sequence of movements that can be used at a standard foundation level that incorporates both what is known and what is new. Within that ability, being able to use and reuse flows and sequences are comfortable to dancers, but have innovation and interests and maximize the use of known movements in different but not difficult ways. That's what they're going to be comfortable with. That's what they're going to enjoy. And that's how they're going to learn and progress. Now you notice on here, here's night one. This is just a hypothetical program. I'm using the basics, so don't get, if you use the condensed teaching order, if you use a different program, whatever, it doesn't matter, as long as there's a logical progression to it, okay? So all of these are your basic foundations. You can move the dancers around the floor and give them a good time for an entire night, just those few movements. Night two, you add a couple of things and you're introducing, hey, the grid, moving around, different sides, different aspects, going up, going back, transfer, getting new dancers. Night three, oh, we've done arm turns, we've done this, we've done that. Oh, great. I've introduced a do passo here, not an alamandar, but I've introduced do passo building off the courtesy turn and the arm turns from the first night. Star through is the first anomalous call that I'm doing, okay? Because it has opposites creating and having that turning action. Circle to a line builds off the star through that turning action, but it's also a fundamentally different call because it's one of the few standalone calls that has no logical precedent, logical sequence. But we have done circle 4, we have done the turn under, and now we can use that as a progression move. That's a stepper for a setup, so we can use it functionally there. The other thing that notice is this angle, okay? The angle of this progression is sloped at 45 degrees or less, okay? Unfortunately, what we try and do is we get to here and then we try and go way up here to get a whole bunch of movements and get them dancing a massive program as fast as we can. You don't have to do that, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to look at an exercise, a couple of exercises, and in the next portion of this. But this is the hypothetical, and I'll give you what I'm giving you is a new dancer class. So this is our new dancer class. They've had 5 nights of dancing. Night 6 is the 2 new movements we're going to be introducing is California twirl and dive through. Whatever sequence you use doesn't matter. This is just what we're using for this. So I've gone through the nights. There's our party night. Night 4, walk around your corner and seesaw your partner. Great. 2 easy movements. That's getting the dancers working independently, but it's building on what we know. And I get time to refresh all this. Night 5, I'm introducing this conceptual movement. Square through is building off the right and left grand, but with the 4. Grand square is a brand new movement, but it's a big outside movement. It's a big flare. It gives me time to teach these, dance these, and use all of these so that this new has time to build from what's known progressively. Regardless of what program you use, or if this isn't the way you would teach it, that's irrelevant. Each one of you is going to have your own ideas on how to progress and what order to progress with, and that's perfectly fine. It's not important to what we're doing right now. This is a hypothetical, and it's based on the old Collar Lab teaching order and the design that has worked very effectively. I intentionally took an old one, so let's not look at the structure too difficultly. That's not what we're analyzing. On night 1, there's a number of foundation basics that are designed to move the dancers around the floor, interact with each other through a series of flowing and traveling motions that give the ability to dance and move in time with the music, with each other. On night 2, you notice there's less movements, but they fit and they build from what is already known from night 1, and they can be set up or followed with things that they already know. On night 3, again, there's less movements, and the movement that is taught that is different is star through, and that has the hand raise, charge, duck under motion. From it, we build circle to a line, which has that similar action of the hand raise and the woman turning under. Everything else is already built on what we know, and when we get out of those, we go to what we know. On night 4, you see what is essentially a practice night, introduction of arm turns without arms, if you will. And it's also a built-in mature plateau. Okay, this is built in. It's not just a program and dance a program. This start, grow, mature, enjoy applies to each individual movements as well. There's enough material here to keep them dancing for a full weekend without redundancy. And there's the addition, like the addition here is only token, walk around your corner, seesaw. That's all it's a token addition, but it also sets up a lot of different things. And, it sets up nicely for circle movements, and it builds in with do, pas, so as well. On night 5, and from here on in, the teaching becomes limited to 2 to 3 movements per evening. It allows the caller to use what is known and reduce what is new. This maximizes the enjoyment and the maturity and the time of the learning curve, allowing the dancers to focus on the new without being overwhelmed. The grand square is a practice move, it moves them around. The square through is limited to a normal 2, 3, or 4 hand facing couples. We're not getting into the left square through or all that. We're setting up a template for them to mature and progress. So night 6 is tonight. That's the basics tonight, and the basics of the exercise that we're actually going to do a little bit later when the presentation's over. I'll explain, I'll put this list up again, but that's the basis. And there's going to be 2 movements taught, California twirl and dive through. So as you can see, this learning curve is still a slow, logical progression of less than 45 degrees, where each succession will plateau with a decreasing amount of new material, allowing time to learn 2 or 3 new movements with success each lesson, and still maximize the enjoyment and use of what is already known. And that's where we have been falling apart. So I put this slide up, let the caller beware. It's usually at this point right here. Wow, the dancers are moving well. The dancers are great. This is nice and easy. Wow, they're really doing fantastic. They got that grand square and square through. I can do all sorts. I can fill up weeks with that. Now I've got dive through and California twirl. My God, I can play with the chicken plucker and move the dancers around. Great, fantastic. It's here where usually right after square through or dive through California twirl, where callers and dancers have a lot of material to work with. The dancers can do all sorts of things and move around the floor in circles and squares and across the grid and both axes, and they're progressing well. The caller feels flush with success. Wow, I'm doing such a great job with these. The dancers are enjoying themselves and they're moving well. Unfortunately, that's also the point in which many callers get to before it all starts becoming all about the caller and not about the dancers. Now that the dancers can move and promenade and square through, and we've got star through and right and left through, the world seems wide open. Unfortunately, callers change their focus at this point and abandon that program plan and structure, and they focus on getting more choreography introduced so the dancers can have even more fun. Suddenly that singing call with a box and that and a swing through and a wheel and deal seem within reach. I'm going to teach those tonight. Yeah, great, because that'll give me so much more material to do. What we've done is we've abandoned our common sense and logic when we teach those 3 movements so that we can use them in a singing call figure. But what happens now? Oh yeah, wait a minute, swing through. I forgot there's a trade in that. Okay, well, I'll teach trade after the swing through. Okay, and then we add that, oh, wait a minute, that singing call has a corner progression. Oh, I've got to use this in a pat. I can fix that corner progression by introducing circulate so I can get them back to their partners. Yeah, that'll fix it. Our planned progression has gone out the window. Our dancers are pushed harder and faster to get there. And we suddenly stop using those basics and only do the simplest amount necessary to get to that new movement we want to introduce so we can, quote, keep it interesting for the dancers. The list of these gross progressive errors just keeps compounding itself. What's really happening is the dancers are getting increasingly frustrated because they're learning something new before they're comfortable with what they know. Their timing has gone out the window. The fun quickly turns into frustration and fret and a desire just to get it over with rather than enjoy it. But they stick with it. Why? Because they remember the fun of before and they think, well, this is just a learning curve. We'll get back to the fun soon. but it just never seems to happen anymore. We got that progressive series of S's going up and dancers dropping and dropping and dropping. The problem here is the caller had begun calling for the caller, trying to impress the dancers with his or her knowledge and ability and get to the point where there's more material for him or her to call, because quite frankly, it's easier to call with more movements than it is to use only a few with innovation. The unfortunate thing is the caller missed the point entirely. The dancers were having fun, they were having success, and they were enjoying themselves. Now they're not. And the reason for that is because we as callers have robbed them of that enjoyment time and experience of feeling successful with what they know. Now, I've just used the basic program here with a hypothetical teaching order, and I know we all have different ones, and the ones that work are the ones that are structured and take their time to have the dancers focus, whether it's a condensed or whatever. What your teaching order has to have that program. It doesn't matter if you're using the SSD program, which actually can be done in 12 weeks of 2-hour dance time, as long as you've got 24 hours of instruction, the way it was written, which means a 2.5-hour dance every week for 12 weeks. Unfortunately, the SSD program leaves very little enjoyment time. That's supposed to come after. It has to be followed by time to enjoy the dance program. The basic program has to be followed by something that comes after. If you combine basic and mainstream, you've got to build these enjoyment times into your structure and program in order to do that. Not learning the rest of basic, mainstream, plus relearning how to dance the basic program if you push them up to plus, because they can now do something and so on and so forth. And now I got to go and reteach it. That just frustrates the heck out of the dancers. Building a better basic foundation is a calling skill for dancer development. And that's what we're here for, is dancers. If we don't have dancers, we don't have employment. If we don't have dancers, we don't even have a reason to exist. It doesn't matter if you're using basic as a program and the dancer knowledge is 0. It doesn't matter if you're teaching mainstream and the dancer's knowledge is only the basics from standard positions with some extended basics and symmetry. Yeah, that's what is supposed to happen first. They should have some of those extended basics and that concept of symmetry before they start doing mainstream. It doesn't matter if you're teaching plus where the dancers have a good knowledge of basic and mainstream from a variety of formations and positions and are familiar with a fair number of the more common extended applications and understand the basics of formations and position awareness. And yes, that's what you as a caller should have taught them and advised them to know and be comfortable with before they move on to plus. We don't do that anymore. I could go on and say it doesn't matter if it's A1, it doesn't matter if it's A2, it doesn't matter if it's C1, and so on. These things are progressing one after the other. Unfortunately, we're taking this vertical line at about a 65 or 75 degree angle instead of that slow 45-degree progression. And we're doing it in the same amount of time. The message here is prerequisite progression that is positive. If you can give that to the dancers, then they're not going to be in any great hurry to achieve that false prestige of honor. And that is, look at me, I'm a plus dancer because I can dance relay the deucey, AC deucey, teacup chain, and load the boat. Do passo, what's that? Box the what? Reverse wheel around, can you do that? Wrong way thar, I didn't know there was a right way thar. You know, this is what we get. And this is what we as callers have created. Why this issue occurs has absolutely nothing to do with the dancers. I've heard the arguments that experienced dancers pull them through and my dancers dance plus, and we want the new dancers to go with them to the fun level. I hate that expression, come to plus, it's the fun level. And the list goes on. We as callers have for too long been getting them where we want them to be as fast as possible with the qualifier, teaching the rest of the stuff as they go. Okay, if you've done this as a caller, you're the problem. Remember, you as a caller have control of the floor. You as a caller have control of progression. You as a caller have control of pace. More importantly, you as a caller control the excitement, the fun, the choreography, and the capabilities of the dancers to succeed or fail. This is probably the hardest lesson for a caller, and that's don't be afraid of handing the microphone to the president or those angels or whatever it is on the floor that's pushing the dancers and saying, here, you know, oh, come on up here, it's a fun level. Give them the microphone and say, here, you call the next tip with that movement that you're pulling them all over the place here. But yeah, you have to teach them these other 7 basics in order to do that, but you go ahead, I'll wait. Now, you're not going to do it quite that sarcastically, but that's the principle behind it. Remember, you may think it's about employment and getting booked and everything else, but think of it this way. It's about advertising. If you are going to follow that stream of just pulling them through and getting there and graduating that new plus class in 12 weeks of dancing, which in some places is what they do, remember, if you produce a dancer that cannot dance and doesn't have fun at the dance and quit, and all those dancers that quit on the way up after their first year with a bad taste, and all those dancers don't want to dance with him in the hall because they can't do it properly, or they're really, really struggling. That is your business card, not the piece of paper with your name on it. That's the business card for any new dancers that follow, because they're in the pub saying, yeah, I tried it, I didn't like it. Think about how you want to advertise yourself. I can tell you now that if you call a dance where the dancers have a positive progression, they succeed, they have a sense of accomplishment and development, they have a social atmosphere of excitement and movement, they're not going to get bored with just a few movements. They're enjoying themselves. Chances are it's not them at all that's bored. It's you, and or you being pressured by those false elitists that think, the higher program I dance, the better dancer I am and the more fun I'm having. Choreographic limitation is not a liability unless you decide to make it a liability, and that's your liability as a caller. Take your time, let the dancers start, grow, mature, and enjoy each step, each basic they take on the dance floor, and each program accordingly. And chances are, if you do that, they're going to be with you for a long time if they're enjoying it. Okay, so the second part of this program, this presentation I'm going to talk about is the little bit of an exercise. So I'm just going to walk you through the exercise. We'll come back to that as part of the discussion because I want to get through it, but I'll show you exactly what I'm meaning here. So when we look at this is what I'll have up on the screen, and then we can look at contaminations or whatever you want to do. But these are all the movements. Those are the only movements you're allowed to use. The ones in yellow are the ones that they know. The ones in red are the ones that are being introduced. So for instance, the first exercise would be create a sequence. I put 70 beats. I'm not saying, oh, it's too long, it's too short. I'm not worried about that. It's a matter of being able to use these movements without using what you're going to teach them. But you want to set them up for this kind of thing. So you want to set them into a place where they can use that effectively. And they've got to, when we progress, we're going to use California Twirl and Dive Through, but we're going to use them in that specific order. That's another restriction. Okay. The second exercise, and this is a good exercise, doesn't matter where you are as a caller, but if these are all your movements, pick movements. You must use lead to the right, right and left through, star through, pass through, bend the line, and California Twirl, but you're not allowed to use square through. You're putting limitations on yourself. Okay, you can use any of them. Okay, exercise 3, you must use lead right, square through, and California Twirl, but you're not allowed to use dive through. Anything else on the program you can use, but you must use those. Exercise 4, very similar limitation, but you've got to use both dive through and California Twirl, not just California Twirl as part of the dive through. And exercise 5, use a lead to the left, because at this point they should know lead to the left, dive through, circle to a line, and California Twirl. Not necessarily in that order, but all of those movements. You must use all of those. So that's what we say when we say we're getting back to a better basic. Okay. The limitations that are created in these exercises are going to be created only by one person, and that's you as the caller. The dancers have more than enough movements to keep them moving, interactive, happy, and successful. There's also more than enough material here to keep them challenged with success. And I can guarantee that if you're able to do that with the limitation and use these things with enough variety of limitation and move the dancers, they're not going to be bored. And the only way they're going to get bored is because if you're bored and you're making it seem boring because you're bored and you're making it boring for them. Okay. You can utilize many movements that too often you rarely see outside of the circle, and you can incorporate those in the choreography. I mean, when was the last time you saw do passo without a walk around your corner do passo? You know, how about you set it up that you've got your lines and have girls walk straight across, do a do passo. there it is. You know, straight across from that line, do paso, partner corner, partner courtesy turn and promenade. It's just a different use of a movement or a basic that they already know. But because we lock ourselves into this mindset, we limit what we're going to do, and we say, oh, the dancers are going to get bored. I've added this piece of the puzzle, but I'm only going to use it in one way. I'm not introducing something new. I'm not letting them learn it and develop and grow with it. I'm not letting them celebrate it with what they already know, and then making it part of their life so that they want to stay with me for a long time. By starting and using and allowing the dancers to enjoy each phase and step of this planned process, they're going to start to build on what they know. They're going to use what they know and learn something new. They're going to incorporate what they know into a bigger picture, and they're going to enjoy that process a lot more of start, grow, mature, enjoy. And they are going to be with you and with the activity for a much longer time. The nice thing about it is you as a caller will end up building a fan base that encourages people to come and see you, rather than a bunch of ex-dancers that now play darts in the pub and talk about, yeah, I tried square dancing, but I didn't like it. Yeah, I went to that Mel Wilkerson guy, and yeah, he's okay, he can sing okay, but all we did was spend time in class learning. I mean, the guys that I went to class with, they're still learning. Yeah, they can go to a dance, but they're still taking classes every night. There's no time to enjoy it. I don't want that kind of advertising associated with my name. I want, yeah, I took dancing. We had a great time. We came, oh no, he only calls mainstream, but man, you should go to his dance. It's a lot of fun. That's the kind of advertising you want. So here's you as the caller. Here's the basic. You're going to break it down. You're going to show it to him. You're going to teach it to him. That's how it's put together. They're going to learn it together, develop it, and see all these little basics up here. That's what they're going to use having fun on the dance floor. And that's what you want. Just build progression, because how that light shines, everybody's going to use it differently. So before we go to the exercises, wow, a lot of people came in. I'll be putting those exercises. I'm just having a quick look. Mark, was there any questions or anything sent to you in the chat?
No, we were chatting a little bit about split the ring because I said I'd never heard of that one before.
Couple number one, go forward, split the ring, or split the opposite two and separate, go around two till you get back, all sorts of different things. Split the outside couple around one. That was just, like I said, I used the program definitions from an old Color Lab program. I did that specifically because I know, Betsy, you use the condensed teaching order. Guido, you have your own teaching order. You have different things. Other people use the SSD. Helen, you focus on the basics and you follow the Color Lab program. That's why I chose that specifically. But where it says split the ring, you can do it as one couple, or you can do, split the outside couple, same kind of concept. You can do couple number one, go forward, split the opposite two and promenade halfway home. Split the ring. Different wording for split the outsides, yes. That's basically a split two, yes, couple one, there was a lot of discussion on split the ring. Hello, Misha. Actually, more it's all about split the ring. A Jerry story has told me mainstream basics should be a 2-year course. Yes, depending on where you are, there are still some places where basic takes a year and you dance it, and then mainstream is introduced and you do basic and mainstream over 2 years. In 79 to 82, there was massive protests across the calling community because somebody said that basic and mainstream could be combined into a 1-year teaching program. They said there's no way it can be done. It's way too fast. You cannot learn that program. And look where we are now. We want it shorter. We want it faster. Well, what was being said was we want the callers to make it easier for the callers to call Calling square dancing is not easy. It should not be easy. It should be a challenge for you to learn something that you love doing, because you can present it to the dancers in a way that they'll love doing it. And if they love doing what you're presenting, they're not going to be in a rush to leave. They're going to be in a rush to come back for more. Jerry did actually do that, but Jerry also had a lot of community dance programs. He also had the development of the SSD, the Club 50, and all those things that progressed into it. And that was because of the soundbite culture, which developed from the progression of people wintering at caravan parks. Were there, they wanted to do dancing, and they were only there for about 15 weeks. So you could have 12 weeks of lessons, 3 weeks of dancing and enjoyment, and then they would all go back to their respective countries. And this is where a lot of that push was. That's Jerry let us know that during one of the presentations he was giving here. Haven't seen anybody use do paso, that get in for a do paso. I'll use that one. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, really. It should not only be he calls it mainstream, it should be more he calls a good, he calls a good mainstream. He calls a good mainstream with a lot of fun. Yeah, word it how you want. How you call and what you do is your calling card. Your best advertisement is not a business card or a flyer. It's another dancing saying how much fun they had to you. Betsy, you say your club dances exclusively mainstream. Fantastic. I love it, because you're telling the dancers that have only danced basic that you're dancing a full program, and you're telling dancers that dance plus, when you come to my club, no, I'm not going to do, don't even ask me to do a star tip for the plus dancers. This is the program we're dancing. This is what I'm advertising. You're comfortable on the floor dancing my program. You're more than welcome. And they will come back. And I know Betsy, I've danced to Betsy. They will come back. Guido, I have my own teaching orders, but incorporates the principles. Absolutely. The teaching order, that's why I said I didn't want to get into discussion on who does what teaching order. As long as your teaching order naturally progresses one movement to the next in a logical and progressive sequence that the dancers can enjoy, that you as a caller can use what they know to build into what they're going to learn, and use what they've learned to follow it with what they already know, they will comfortably progress. Okay, there are anomalous movements. Star through is one, circle to a line is another one, and they exist at every program. But when you introduce a good solid foundation, when you introduce a movement like star through or circle to a line, you've got something that is known to and comfortable to the dancers to follow it up with. And that's the importance of that progression, getting those steps down first. It's like if I was teaching recycle as an example, I would do a lot of actions where I had the centers folding behind the ends and then everybody doing something. Then I would have a lot of actions leading up to this, doing ends cross fold and finishing with something. Then I might do, the movement with the split circulate, face right. All separate movements that they already know. Then I would introduce ends and centers, recycle, clap hands. Okay, centers, you're going to fold behind the ends, wait for it. Ends, look at where that far center is. That's where you're going to cross fold and they're going to follow you. When you get there, they turn and face in. Go, or however you want to teach it. But you build what they know into what you're going to teach them. And then from there, you're not going to follow a recycle with a A2 recycle. Not a mainstream, here's an ocean wave, recycle, or recycle twice from an ocean wave. Yeah, that's called cruelty. But people will do it. You don't want to do that. You want to go somewhere where they're known to the new, back to the known. Comfort is everything. Right, have we got any questions or discussions before I put the exercise up and we can look at these kinds of things? No. That has got to be an absolute first. Okay, so let's put exercise 1 up. Okay, so here's exercise 1. And it's basically, these are the movements that you can do. So if you want, you can jot down the movements. I'll put them up for each one. So if you'd like, just come up with a short sequence that uses those movements. our new callers, but our more experienced callers can do that. But the newer and journeyman callers, these are the types of things that we're looking for. So as an example, if I look at that, here's a short sequence that meets that criteria. Heads promenade half, all the sides are right and left through. Let's slow that down a bit. Lead to the right, do a do-si-do. Star through, go forward and back. I don't mind using a forward and back. Right and left through, followed by a lady's chain. They've got that. Pass through, bend the line, star through. Pass through, and there's that Alaman left. Okay, I'm less than my 70 beats. I'm at 50 beats in music. The right and left grand and the promenade. That's so the dancers are rewarded with their success. I'm a strong believer. An at-home resolution is nice occasionally, very occasionally. But at basic and mainstream especially, you want to give them well done. And a right and left grand and a promenade, or if you don't, a right and left grand to a 4-step promenade, that is success. So if we go back to this. So anybody care to propose a sequence, just a short sequence using these movements? It's a lot harder than you think when suddenly, oh, all those things that I'm used to are taken away from me.
Well, you said shorter than 70, so head square through 4, Alaman left.
Okay, let's put it, hang on. Let's put it up here.
What is 10? We need to.
Okay, so we'll reset that. So what do we got? Head square through? Okay.
Yes.
So that's the one they learned last week. Yep. What's after that?
Alaman left.
Okay. Now, is that good flow?
Sorry. I was trying to break the silence.
Yeah, I know. Okay. How many people, okay, head square through, Alaman left. That we all know that that's a bad choice of calls, right? What about a do-si-do, same girl, Alaman left? If we're learning it, why not? There's nothing wrong with breaking a flow with a do-si-do.
I guess what he meant to say was star through square through 3 or left square through 4.
Whatever you want to do.
There we go. They're talking again.
It's that resounding silence. Helen, you want to try and have a crack at that?
Sorry, I was just dealing with an issue with my wife. We've got a birthday today. So she,
Sorry, go ahead.
Looking at the figures that were being posted in the chat, I rather liked one of them, and I thought that could be used. Head split the ring, split the opposite couple round that person to make a line of 4. That line of 4 dance to the middle, bend the line, star through California Twirl, back away you're home. That's a rhythm that where the other 3 couples can all watch the activity going on. You might be able to use it when you're teaching.
It is absolutely, it's one of the things that I wanted with split the ring. When you, it says we tend to lock ourselves into in this list, we tend to lock ourselves into split the outside 2, separate round 1. We're working as a couple. We set up a corner box, split the outside 2 of round 1, all join hands, circle left, and we're back with our partners. And we lock ourselves into that. We take away the fact that, couple number 1, go up to the middle and back. Or couple number 3, go up to the middle, split the opposite couple and promenade home. Or split the opposite couple, go around 2 till you get back home. We miss all of those things that teach and we can use with innovation. And as Alan was saying, some of those figures where you can set up these lines, you can do all these concepts without locking yourself into a single use of a movement only. And it's a great idea. You've got all of this stuff. I mean, you can do an Alaman left, do side do, men star left. You can do head square through, make a right hand star because we've got that. Head star left, split the outside two. Round one, make a line, go up to the middle and circle left. You know, okay, now I've got a cigar shaped circle. Whatever you want to create that innovation, it's just that little bit different that you as a dancer have probably not heard since that was taught to you in your dance class. Well, I got news for you. Even the C1 dancers love to have an occasional basic like that thrown at them because it throws them for a loop. They're expecting, you know, a split counter rotate with an inverted windmill doing a check your wazoo. And suddenly you call separate around one or split the outside couple round one, circle left. What? Where did that come from? Well, that came from, you know, night 2 of dancing. Don't get hooked up on difficult. You've got lots of material to work. Go ahead, Betsy.
Heads pass through, separate around 2, join on and make a line.
Hang on.
Separate, round 2.
Yep.
Pass through. You turn back. Star through. Do we have star through?
Yep. Guess who?
Hello.
Yeah. And you can do the star through. If you don't like star through Alaman left, you can do pass through Alaman left. Perfect.
Or you could do the star through, pass through, you turn back, pass through, and a right and left grand.
I even like that for a singing call, but I wouldn't call U-turn back. I would call face right, face in, pass through, swing, which has a nice rhythm to it as well.
Okay. So other than those of you that are now teaching a basic class or use it, and Betsy, you're excluded in this because I know that you use that one all the time. How many of you have actually done separate around 2 to a line and done something to take it from there? And you notice that she had, oh, they're half sashayed, oh my goodness. Pass through, oh, we're half sashayed, oh my goodness. You turn back, we're suddenly back to normal. We're back to comfort. We haven't done anything that is unknown to the dancers. It's a nice little sequence. Anyone else care to try something?
I got one.
Go ahead.
Heads roll away. Pass through. Separate around 1. Come into the middle. Oh, you got separated around 1 to a, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it doesn't do that, come into the middle. So that's why I put come into the middle.
Now centers pass through.
Compensated.
Split the outside.
What are you doing after that?
Separate around 1. Come into the middle. Pass through.
I I write that because some people copy these down. So it's important that they know that that's a fix. That's just a nuance of terminations. I'm just being lazy and not getting checkers in another camera out.
Also doing a good exercise on teaching people to move to advanced early.
Yeah, which totally defeats the purpose of what I'm saying. You did a pass-through after that?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you have to specify heads or some centers. Yeah,
All right.
Tend to spells with a written R.
picky details.
separate
Oh.
around one
Picky terminations.
Yes,
to a line. Now, if they have square through already, I would do a square through 3 to an element left. If they would not have a square through already, then I would call up to the middle and back and do a right and left through and then a pass through for an element left.
Yeah, they do have square through.
It's just an option because I do that pretty early, have them walking around and gives the others time to watch and the others the action, and it has a different feel because one time we're half sashayed and then we come back around and get normal.
Now you notice that that whole sequence, that looks like a very long sequence. For the dancers, that's one figure of a singing call figure. 45 beats of music. And the reason it's like that is because I had to put the fixes in, and this is done in stop time. That actually works out to be about that's only 40 beats of music because you're doing things concurrently. And of
Yeah,
course
but you cannot
finish.
just take the walking time because it takes a lot of thinking and
Yeah, no, I realize
anticipation of
that.
the
And
others.
which is what you want to get. That's why I said about, I don't care if you go 70 beats or whatnot. The idea here is to get this. See where they're moving all over the floor, across the grid, both ways. Okay. You get that kind of a flow going, that the dancers are moving all over the place. They're going up and down across the grid. It doesn't have to be difficult. Like,
Now, of course,
this around one down the middle. Okay. The only reason I've got step inside because it doesn't do around one come into the middle. That's just a nuance of termination. Ends bend, it doesn't do separate and come down the middle. Or at least I haven't figured out how to do it. But that whole sequence, when you look at it, okay, you've got a flow. And you've done a roll away to start with. Oh my goodness, a roll away. I've got them half sashayed and then a pass through. But the separate around one, I'm doing it from the wrong side, but immediately it takes me back to that comfortable standard boy on the left, girl on the right. So I've gone from the unknown or unfamiliar back to the familiar. I've taken that one nuance of an extended application, if you will, and I've brought them into danger and out of danger successfully, and they feel happy about it. Excellent sequence. Somebody put something in the chat. I don't know what that is. Interesting, but we have a 2 a.m. so I'll have to see on later. Okay. Bye, Hannah. Okay, let's look at the second exercise here. Okay, same movements, but you have to use, and these are good exercises for you as a caller if you're teaching a class, to create these sequences using only what they know. Put these limitations on yourself, because by doing that, you're going to develop your ability to use a limited amount of material with innovation, with variety, and the ability to move the dancers comfortably without having to say, right, oh yeah, but when I get here, if I do swing through and boys trade, I can, oh yeah, but I haven't taught swing through. I haven't taught boys trade. Oh, well, I'll just do that now. Forget the list, forget the progression. And we as callers do that too often. Okay. So that's the
once
list.
in a while, I
Sorry,
pick
go ahead.
calls which I'm not allowed to call for the whole day or whole
Yep.
week if I have different groups, or I emphasize a call. But guess which call was the hardest one, which I was not supposed to use? It was an element left.
Mm-hmm. That does become hard because we're so focused on resolution But that's a really good exercise in manipulating the dancers into where you want them to be and using the grid and moving them around. So, but it's always a good exercise to put limitations on yourself.
The other thing is, Mel, if you restrict yourself to, say, those first two lists when you're teaching something for your fourth night or your fifth night, so that
Yep.
you are using all the very early stuff, be it circle fours or whatever, so that you are not stressing them with trying to remember something that's recent, but that's something they've had 2 or 3 nights of dancing. So yeah.
Okay, so I got 2 sequences that came in. I'm just posting them there. I don't know if they're going to work or not, but. Okay, so this is what we got. Now, what was our rule again here? Okay, so we want a right and left through, star through, pass through, bend the line, and California twirl, but no square through. So we've got a right and left through, we've got a star through, we've got a circle to a line, and we've got a California twirl. So that meets that. And the next one was circle to a line, right and left through, California twirl, and star through. Okay, so they both meet the criteria. Let's see what they look like. By the way, if you're not comfortable speaking up or coming up with a sequence, you can just post it in the chat and we can look at it there. Lead to the right with a right and left through. Nice. Pass through, center, star through, and back away while the others California twirl. Good. Star through, pass through. Now I just want to back that up for a second. And notice this, where we have centers. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is what I mean about concurrent activity. Centers star through while and back away while the others California twirl. Centers star through and back away while the others California twirl. That's the set. And then you have the centers coming forward again. There's no problem with that. Some people would say, oh, the centers backed away, let's have the heads go in. It doesn't matter. Okay. The idea here is you're using a lot of material and moving the dancers around. Okay, star through, pass through, circle to a line. Yep. And we're in partner lines, right and left through, pass through, bend the line. We can do an Alaman left, we can do a circle left again. So the focus on there is working in the partner lines. And of course, there's the right and left grand and the promenade home. It's a shorter promenade, but it's still a celebration for the dancers. The next one, heads lead to the right, circle to a line, right and left through, ladies chain, beautiful succession. Pass through, bend the line, good. Pass through, the new movement, California twirl to face back in, great. Centers pass through and you turn back, a bit tricky. Bend the line, boy, boy, girl, girl. Star through, it's back to normal. Circle to a line, and we're back to partner lines. Alaman left. So let's just stop back here for a second. Okay, so we did a California twirl. That's normal. And here, I would have put a forward and back. Everybody go forward and back, just the centers, or really emphasize, because you got to remember, we're new dancers here. But I really like this. Good job. Centers pass through and you turn back. Now I've got boys together, girls together, just a little bit different. Pass through, bend the line. 2 of them, that is perfectly normal too. And they know they're dancing boys and girls. There's the little bit of different nuance. And it was immediately followed by, I'm back in my comfort zone. Boy and girl. Pass through, circle to a line. And that takes me back to the partner line and then any partner line get out within those restrictions. 2 very nice sequences. Anyone else have one? Sorry, who was that?
I
Go ahead,
I
Guido.
don't have one yet. I was fascinated by the things you were doing here.
Okay, let's look at the third one. Now, all these exercises, I'll make sure that all this choreography is posted in the handout as well. The third exercise, okay, use lead to the right, square through, and California twirl, but you're not allowed to use dive through. Which is basically everything that you've taught. This would be the tip that you would be using as an affirmation tip after teaching California twirl, but I haven't taught dive through yet. Anyone care to take a crack at it? Masami, Key? Want to have a go?
Well, you could do something like the Hey Ladies chain.
Mhm.
And the head square through 4 hands.
Guido, what about hand availability?
Because they're out in their own possession, going forward with a hand availability from a static square is not an issue because it's a 12-step movement. It is tight if you did a ladies chain from parallel boxes and followed that with a square through. That would definitely be more awkward.
And there are new dances, they take a little more time. They have.
That's the wrong answer. Although it's
right
true,
in
it's the wrong answer.
Yeah. Let's say, what was it? What do you need?
You need a lead right, you need a square through, and a California
yeah.
twirl.
Okay. Circle to a line.
Coming off a square through, that's a bit awkward, but
Yeah. I need the California twirl, right? Okay. Pass through. California twirl. Pass through. That was kind of wrong. I should not have done that. But anyway, pass, bend the line. No, it's okay.
I'm sorry.
I have called it, the dancers did it, and I have to fix it. Bend the line.
Oh, sorry.
Pass.
I thought you were using the advanced teaching method, which has undo.
No. Pass through. Lead right. And promenade home. Wrong way.
It'd be a wrong way promenade. That
And
to
this
me,
one,
yeah, I see where you're going with that. That to me would be, we're into the extended app. I would never call that, but if your dancers are used to you calling that kind of stuff, it's not wrong, but that's more of an abstract concept to the dancers. Everybody lead to the right and wrong way promenade. You could talk them through it very, very easily.
the reason I teach it is that they learn to lead right or lead left without facing anybody.
Mm-hmm. You could also from here California twirl. Forward and back. Lead right.
Yeah, but then have a trade by formation.
Outside's
I know.
California. Twirl while centers pass through.
Yeah, or you could do a square through 3 in the middle and then have the outsides do a California twirl about timing wise.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is the whole thing. There, what you can do, you can do a square through 3 in the middle. You can do the outsides doing something. You could fix these timings. You can do a lead to the right from there. You can do a lead to the right from lines facing in. You can do a lead to the right from lines facing out. These are the little obscure, I haven't done that other than I learned that in class, and I've probably never seen that again, except maybe in your own club if you're one of those callers that actually does that. Betsy,
I thought the restriction was square through.
Oh, sorry, it might
If
have
you
been.
if you look at the list, you haven't given the variation.
Yes, okay. So
But,
yeah, that's why
yeah.
you didn't use square through.
No,
Right.
I had called square through in the beginning. 2 ladies chain, they hit square through.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, but Mike was suggesting square through 3, and that's not on the list.
Yeah, I missed that completely. Sorry. Yes, Betsy.
When you have the trade by position, you could have the center star through and then the others separate, go around one to a line.
And you had out. I'm sorry, you would have the center star through first, I should say.
Yes. Otherwise, they wouldn't see the line.
Yeah. Why is it not doing that?
Try center slide through.
Yeah, that
Oh.
might do it.
Okay, and outsides. Thing. And you set yourself up for a lot of different things. And from here, star through, pass through, circle to a line. There's my partner line again. So you see the limitations on what you can do. I've got to use a California twirl, pass through California twirl, pass through California twirl, pass through California twirl. It's usually the only time you see it is lines facing out California twirl and setting up to something like a lady's chain or something. You can use it in all sorts of different ways.
I have a question. What do the
Yes.
newer callers that still here think about it? What do they get out of this? What the experienced callers manage with these calls? Like Yolanda or so.
Yolanda, Helen, Mark.
I think it's fun that you guys are limited. I'm trying to put one together, but it goes faster than I can put them all in. But
Mel,
Yes.
when you said use lead right, is left also available? And if you say square through, it could be a square through 3 as well?
Yeah, I've got square through 4, 3, and 2.
Okay, well, then I've got one.
I have ladies chain. That's all 4 ladies chain or 2 ladies chain, but I intentionally took ladies chain 3/4 off the list.
But I'm still with the last one. Then I would have one.
On this one.
Yeah.
Okay, you got your sequence, so let's have a look at it. Go ahead.
Heads lead left. Ladies chain.
Cozy.
That looks awkward in determinations, but it's really not that awkward
Pass
because
through.
you're coming in as a couple and they will blend into that ladies chain. The man will do a stop check.
Everybody California twirl.
I'm typing that in because you would probably say that.
Yeah. Square through 3.
Can't use square through. Can't use square through.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry, you do use square through. Ah, I'm all right.
Yeah, I was gonna say that just messed up the one I posted in there.
Alaman left. Yeehaw. Right and left grand.
Absolutely. Sorry, Mark. Absolutely. And you've got to see, when was the last time you heard a lead left from a static square or not coming off a ladies chain or something like that? Or a reverse flutter wheel?
Now, a question.
Yes, Ross.
On that one with the California twirl, because they're learners, would you need to prompt that to say the one beside you? So they didn't try and do it with the one in front?
Prompting, and when you have learners, once you've done a California twirl, one of the good ways of doing it is, I've seen people say, okay, we're going to start in a static square, everybody California twirl. Now you're all facing up. You know, I start with the heads doing a pass through, and then I'd have them do a California twirl to face back in. Sides pass through, do a California twirl. When I set this one up, I would personally at the start, because I'm setting up a trade by formation. So we've got the box pass through, everybody California twirl, and give them a second. That weaning and that prompting, you're prompting them for success, and then you're weaning them off your prompts so that they know what to do. They also get used to doing things like identifying where your partner is after a pass through. You're looking ahead to the next person, but you're also identifying the person beside you. Where we tend to fail on this is as we progress the dancers through, we stop using things like everybody California twirl until it becomes a gimmick. If you call pass through everybody California twirl, you've already created that stop, which should at this point now be saying to the dancers, take the hand of the person beside you because you may be doing something. If you're not, you can always let go of the hand again. So prompt, yes, initially, but wean them off it as you go.
May I add something to that?
Absolutely.
Because especially on a trade by formation, the center dancers may want to tend to do a star through. So what I usually train
That's
the
right.
dancers to, that the calls ending on a through, like pass through, star through, right and left through, always go with the opposite, and the twirl is with the neighbor, with your partner right next to you. So that needs to be emphasized and trained before like using a routine like that then.
Yeah. And you can say little indicators to the dancers so they get used to doing that. Pass through, who's your partner? California twirl. Pass through, everybody, California twirl. You know, anything that helps the dancers succeed, that they feel they're dancing and you're not dancing their dance for them, is not a bad thing. And eventually what you do is you get less and less and less with the prompts. Your filler becomes part of the dance and they're dancing the choreography. You're not dancing their dance from the microphone. And Mark, what was your take? Sorry, go ahead, Mickey.
And it also helps to say everybody in this occasion, because sometimes if we say the outside's California twirl, and that happens very often, and the centers do something different, then on the California twirl, they just may want to mean, okay, it's just the outside's doing it. So putting an emphasis on everybody means this everybody's going to do it.
Out, sides.
Center ladies chain. I changed a couple of things on that sequence. When you do something from a box 4, such as a square through 3, okay, ends California twirl while the centers star through. The centers are going to end up in the middle. So you would say something like centers star through and back away. Same 4 ladies, or same 2 ladies chain, or the ladies chain. You don't want to confuse your width, or you don't want to do a forward and back while they're already in the center because they've got nowhere to go. So don't hesitate to say star through and back away. That's going to establish the square. A square is a comfortable formation for the dancers. And you could easily say sides up to the middle and back, head ladies chain, and everybody Alaman left, or however you want to finish that. But it's not a bad little sequence. It does what it is you need to do. And it reemphasizes there's that California twirl that is not just pass through California twirl over and over and over again. Okay, the next sequence.
Yeah, I had put that in there because I was kind of thinking that after the star through, the girls were just using their left hand and then they're going to go in with the left. That's why I did the forward and back.
Yep.
That was what was going on in my mind.
Yep. But if you got to remember, if they're doing a star through coming off a dive through, the star through, they're still in the center, or coming off a pass through, I should say. They're still going to be in the center. So they're going to be tight in the center, and doing a forward and back when they've only got one step between them is very, very awkward. So
And,
don't hesitate to say things like star through and back away.
And it is important that they stay in the center until you say back away.
Yep.
They should not do it by themselves.
Square through 3, centers pass through while outsides California. Yeah. We got to get a better name for that because it's hard to type all the time.
You need to make hotkeys.
I don't like hotkeys. I can actually type faster than I do trying to remember shortcuts. Pass through. And the line. Okay. And these are nice little good exercise drills that you as a dancer or sorry, you as a caller can give your dancers using the material that's there. Okay, and promenade home, of course. And here's where you'd say, promenade, it's a short walk. And of course, my dancers aren't going to listen to me anyway. And they're going to take the long walk. Okay, one last one in the chat here. What do we got? Heads lead right. Circle to a line. Don't hesitate to use forward and back. There's nothing wrong with it. Pass through. California twirl. Now, I am very pleased to say that's a perfect use of California twirl because we haven't used it there in any of these sequences here yet. So use everything. Don't just fixate on one thing. California twirl. Do side do. That's an interesting combination. Nothing wrong with it. When was the last time you did a do side do from a line? Why was that done? Because look at the next call. Broke up a flow, forward, backward action, bend the line. So now I've done on backward. That end dancer can pivot. You've got to change it, or sorry, that center dancer can pivot. Sorry, the left-hand dancer, you know what I mean. One dancer can pivot, the other one can move. Okay, what did you have after that? Square through 3, I think it was. Okay, and we had an Alaman left here, but that's not a corner because we're in a partner line, but that's fine.
Yeah, we're out of sequence.
Yeah. So let's just undo that. There's our pass through bend the line to an Allemande left. If we don't like that, we can always do a star through pass through. The nice thing about these things is at this level, you've got your ladies chain, you've got your star through, you've got the ability to move the dancers around without having to circulate, without having to do all sorts of different things. And getting far away from your partner in that relationship status is kind of difficult. Okay. Unless you're going to start setting yourself up to move them and separate it. They're going to feel like they're interacting with a square, but your partner's not going to be too far away. And most cases, when you get to the lines, you're going to be 1 or 2 steps away from a partner line.
Mel, you asked whether using do-side-do from a line has been used often or not. I use it very much.
No, I meant was right immediately California twirl into a line followed by a do-side-do. I had not seen that in a long, long time.
Okay. Could I have a partner line?
Sure. And by the way, person that put that sequence in, there's nothing wrong with that. I was curious why you put a do-side-do after a California twirl, and then I saw bend the line. It's because you're breaking up the sequence. Great. A bend the line after California twirl would have been a bit awkward. Go ahead, Mickey.
Okay, now if sometimes you get into this formation and you do not want to resolve like star through, square through 3 or other type things, but with a circle left, maybe 2 steps, 4 steps, whatever, but it's not so nice to get in from a line into a circle left. So what I like to call is do-side-do.
Mm-hmm.
And then circle left, because when they come around a bang, they have a nice flow and it all goes nice in there.
Yeah. And it's also do-side-do to a circle left. It's a very European thing. I'll tell you that right now, because it was very common. It's a nice little fun thing because circle left, and there's always usually about 8 beats of circling that follows that to allow everybody that did the do-side-do and started moving forward to the person in front of them again to realize, yeah, circle big, everybody, yeah, and back up and make that circle and fix it. Beautiful
Mel?
little use. Yes,
Mel,
Alan.
can I share something that after 43 years of calling, I came up with something the other day that I thought, why in the heck haven't I called this before?
Absolutely.
After 43 years. How often do we find ourselves with the square rotated 180 degrees and most of us do an Allemande left and a right and left grand or a weave the ring. So if we do just set it up, heads do a right and left through and the sides promenade halfway or something like that, just to set up where I'm talking about. And I suddenly thought that I was using it in a more advanced way, but I'll just do it in the basic way. Face your corner and everybody do a wrong way grand. Starting with your corner.
My nation doesn't like that.
No. And that gives you a perfect Allemande left at home and back with your partner. It doesn't want to do it, of course.
It doesn't want to do it, but I think you can all see what he's doing there. Yes.
And the way I was using it, the way I was actually intending it to use was I was going to do a wrong way grand, but on your 4th hand, courtesy turn your partner and you're home. So it has that nice sort of variation that you can do the Allemande left if you want to, or you can turn your partner on the 4th hand to be at home.
Yeah. Or you
I wonder
if you wanted, you can even do something like on the 4th hand, do passo, but with a full turn.
Yeah.
You know?
That'd be tough. I wonder after the second right left through, Mel, if you would call a seesaw just for getting into facing the corner, if that would work.
That might work, yeah.
I'm only typing this in. If Combinations doesn't do it. Oh, that's good. Ash, undo. Gesundheit.
Dankeschön.
Gesundheit.
Dankeschön.
Now, right and left through and star through is not as nice as star through and right and left through, talking about
Yes, I
hand
know.
availability.
I noticed that.
Hmm.
Okay. I was just setting. I would have actually done a pass through and face in there. But
Just
this,
a little
this
off
is the
topic.
setup. Yeah, this is the setup I was talking about, Guido. So you notice that you've got everybody's facing their partner.
Yep.
Okay. And you've got the boys in sequence and the girls in sequence. Okay. Girls walk straight across do paso.
The girls are not in sequence. The girls are out of sequence.
They will be in sequence when they walk across.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, sorry, yes. Boys are in sequence, girls out. But if the boys walk straight, or girls walk straight across to a do paso,
yeah,
it works beautifully. Because there's
Yeah.
that automatic adjustment.
If the girls were in and the boys were out, it would work the same way.
Yep. Except they're walking forward and they're walking forward to a right hand. Here, because the girl would be on the up, would automatically adjust into that. But get ready with the left hand, boys walk forward, do paso, or get ready with the left hand, girls walk forward, do paso. Little prompts like that. I think it was Roz, you mentioned prompts. Absolutely. And when was the last time you heard a do paso called that wasn't coming off of a walk around your corner? The limitation on innovation is entirely you as a caller. You can do all sorts of things.
I like to do a do paso instead of a weave the ring. When circling and have the girls make a right hand star in the middle, one time around to the partner do paso. And then you got to be careful that you don't call swing and promenade, but just promenade.
Yeah.
And you got about the same time to sing the lyrics, which you have on Weave the Ring.
Now, the choreography that's been used here, other than what we were doing during the exercise, but all that choreography and some of the other stuff, it'll be in with the notes that go with this handout, or with this presentation when Mark posts them, as will be the handout. But the essence of what we were talking about today is use the material that you have. Don't be afraid as a caller to put these limitations on yourself. Because when you're starting a new dancer class, these limitations are already on you. Stick to your program. Don't automatically think that, oh, I'm now at dive through. Okay, well, let's start using the chicken plucker, and then I can do a swing through boys trade, swing your corner. Hey, great little thing, because swing doesn't come until mainstream, or swing through doesn't come until mainstream, I believe. Isn't that correct? Or no, basic two.
Basic two. Basic part two.
Okay,
No,
so
no.
that's what I meant to say. But those are the kinds of things. Don't automatically jump. Oh, well, I've got that, but oh, I've got this really great singing call, but it's got to spin the top in it. Okay, well, we do a 3/4 turn with the do paso coming off of here. I'll just teach them spin the top tonight. Well, now you've taught a quarter circulate. Now you got to go back and teach circulates. Now, and suddenly your program of logical progression has gone completely out the window, and you're calling for you to use variety. The dancers don't have the foundation to build and the skills to enjoy. And what they're doing now is they're trying to keep up with you, and you think they're being successful and you're not. They're just getting more and more frustrated with no foundation. Yes, Helen.
I just thought I'd like to say that the calling you've been doing this evening is exactly what I do. I think for the first term, we spend a year in Sweden learning basic. So these are really no restrictions for me, but I'm getting a lot of variation because I'm afraid to say it's often passed through California Twirl and that kind of thing, because I don't have the imagination, I don't have the experience. So this is great hearing all the different things that you've been doing. So I'll definitely be taking your notes and looking at them later. But
I appreciate that.
This is really great, really great.
And this is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I have one question. When I get them in partner lines, I quite often say Alleman left from there. But I've noticed in all these talks we've had, no one ever does that, and I wondered why.
Actually, it was done a few times. Partner line from normally what you'll get is a bend the line to the partner line and an Alleman left where you have the outsides going in because the centers are already turning. There you go, the bend the line, and they're into that. If you're doing a comfortable bend the line, it flows quite well, but it's something that once you get past basics and teaching, because there's a square through 3 and there's always those setups, a lot of people forget that, you know, when you get to a partner line and they say resolve the square, most callers that have been calling for a while suddenly think, okay, it's partner lines. Oh, great. Okay, slide through square through 3. There we go. They don't think that, hey, perfectly good resolution. Circle left till you get back home. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just we've got so much material there that we forget that a lot of these basic foundation movements are still valid and viable for dancing. And it's great. You know, I saw that on a video I was watching a little while ago. It was on I don't know if it was demonstrated. It was I think it was Vic Cedar might have been calling, but it was at a level I have no idea even what half the movements he called. But he called circle left to get back home, and the floor froze for about 3 or 4 seconds trying to, what? Oh yeah. And just watching the faces go, oh yeah, we can still do that too. That's part of the movement. It's interesting. And that's probably the only reason that it wasn't there, but it is perfectly valid to call an Alleman left. If your flow's there, it's perfectly valid to call circle left. I've got Yolanda had her hand up, Jeff had his hand up, and then Guido. So Yolanda.
Yes, you guys were asking about new caller reaction. So I really appreciate this because I've been calling for several groups, and slowly but surely the dancers are dropping back in, but different ones remember different things. So as I'm calling, it's like, oh, somebody forgot this. Well, you can only do so much teaching. So then you have to quickly go through the stuff you already have and go, okay, that one out, that one, that one, that one. So to get more variety is really nice.
Do you call C1?
Not yet.
No, because you just said, oh.
Mark, you posted a sequence in the chat. Just as a note, lead to the left followed by a circle line is not comfortable. Okay, because you got that left flow with a sudden jerk to the left.
The question about Alleman left from lines. Often you find yourself in the situation where you're going to bend the line to get into that line.
Yeah.
And so just calling the ends Alleman left gives you really nice flow, and the center dancer, which would have to bend and then turn to face the other center dancer, then do the Alleman left, it's a bit awkward for them. So just doing an Alleman left with the end of the line is a nice variation as well when you're in a line.
Okay. And like I said, these are only the things that are limiting you as a caller, is the limitations that you put on yourself. I got Jeff, and then I've got Guido, and then somebody else just had their hand up. I can't remember who it was.
Can I just say something real quick? Alan, I
Sure.
understand that perfectly. They do that to us out here all the time. Alleman left from lines, and 9 times out of 10, to me, it feels uncomfortable. So I know exactly what you're saying.
Yep. Jeff.
Yeah, I have a singing call I use, which gets a bit of a laugh anyway, but 4 ladies chain 3/4. Heads go right and left through.
Just a second.
Sides.
Just a
Sorry?
second, Jeff.
Oh.
Just a second. I was trying to put it up on the screen here. That way some people can see it. So.
Right. 4 ladies chain 3/4.
Yep.
Heads go right and left through. Sides pass through. And do a U-turn back.
I'm just gonna.
All right.
Why did the girls not turn back?
The girls have got to turn back too.
Yeah, no, that's an anomaly I'm gonna have to talk to them about.
All right. Now you should have 2 boys together, 2 girls together. Oh, now you're right. Circle to the left.
Sides, pass through.
There, you got it.
No.
There we go.
All right. Then you circle to the left, which you can't do on that. Swing your corner.
Yeah. Set
Which
up
is-
like that. Yep.
Yeah, so you got 2 boys together, 2 girls together, but if you swing your corner, you got to be careful who you're swinging.
I've seen a number of setups coming off of this, and they usually end with boys swing the nearest girl, or girls
Yeah,
pick the cutest boy near you. And of
That's
course,
right.
half the girls start walking across the square, but it's good for a laugh. At least when I'm in the square, they do that, and they're not walking to me.
You also can achieve that with star left in the middle for the heads, pick up the corner, star promenade, all back out, join heads.
Yeah.
And what's nice about these, like star left, pick up your corner, star promenade, back out, circle left, boy, boy, girl, girl.
Yeah.
You do this at the new dancer level in basic, and this is well within the first couple of nights of dancing. You can do this. It gives the dancers the knowledge, the feeling, and the comfort that 2 boys can dance together, 2 girls can dance together, 4 boys can dance together, 4 girls can dance together. It's not uncomfortable, but you immediately go from the unknown, this kind of a setup, back to the known. Swing the nearest girl. Oh, that's something I'm used to. And that builds the confidence in the dancers to listen and to accept something that's just a little bit different, because now they trust you to get you into something different and back out of it again. And I'm really glad you I actually forgot about saying that in my presentation. So thank you for that. Guido, you had your hand up.
Yeah. The problem why something like an element left from facing lines is rarely called in the club life. The more calls you have available, the more combinations you have available, the more difficult this is to restrict yourself to say, I do all of them that I have. There are just too many at a certain point in time. It's like when you're in your 5th week of the class, it's easy to use all the calls of the class in several variations. But if you're calling for an A1 club, it's almost impossible to have all the calls in more than one instance from circle left to the last call of the A1 program in there, because the more you have, the less you can use. And so we have to restrict ourselves to say, I'm going to use that, and I'm going to use that to take a theme for a club dance and say, I will emphasize this calls from as many positions as possible, using the other calls, but you definitely will not use some calls because you just don't have the time.
Yeah. There's that movement tua that was enjoyed, but that's essentially, I can't do an ends only. I was thinking of whether it could. But essentially what you've got is, for those of you that were trying to see that, you've got the end stepping forward, left arm turn coming back to the partner, right and left grand.
You could call it an ends left turn through, just for a termination type thing.
Yeah, I do, but they end up coming back to a wave, and it won't do an Allemande left from there. Or won't do a right and left grand from there.
Okay.
They step to a left-hand wave.
Well, it's not left, it would be an inverted line.
Or an inverted line, sorry.
Yeah, well, you could call it face and then a right and left grand, just for termination.
You could. Yeah. But I think everybody gets the idea, though. Yeah. So this is, you don't have to be way out in left field on your choreography. You can do all sorts of things to build a better basic. And I'm not talking about the program. When I say build a better basic, I'm talking about build a better movement. Because once you build a movement, you get to use that movement, you get to grow with that movement, you get to enjoy that movement from all sorts of different things. And as was shown here, we can use this movement this way, this movement that way. You know, you can do a ladies chain facing lines, right and left through, ladies chain, lead to the left, center square through while the outside's California twirl. Now you're using a California twirl from just two couples are doing it. You've got concurrent activity, something that your dancers may not have seen. They may not have seen a lead to the right or a lead to the left from facing lines and where that takes you. But if you build that confidence in the dancers by building a better basic, using that material, taking them to the unknown, that slightly extended application, and giving them something that they know and are comfortable with to follow it, they will have confidence in you. You will gain confidence and skill as a caller to develop material with a limited number of calls. And hopefully you won't be stretching this mass panic rush to get the dancers dancing plus because it's easier to call. I say this, I don't call above A1. I haven't called A1 in a long time. I don't call challenge, but my experience is most callers call plus, advance, and challenge. Not, or most new callers call plus, advance, and challenge, not because they're great callers, but because it's easier to call. When you have a lot of material, you don't have to really think about it. And that has come to the fore. Every caller school that has been of note that I have attended or heard about have all done the same exercise. Betsy, you did a little bit of this with us in Wollongong. Right. Here's the program. Everything else is now only basic, or everything else is only mainstream. We will not call anything above mainstream. And all these callers that call plus, advanced, and challenge had a real hard time moving the dancers with just a basic program because they don't use it. Guido says, you've got so much material, we don't use it. No, you don't, but you should. And if you're using the material properly with innovation, guess what? Your dancers aren't going to notice. If you're calling in an A2 class or an A2 dance, and you're suddenly doing recycles from left-hand waves or what have you, or you're doing different movements or different setups or setting up T-bones and calling split circulates, they're going to appreciate it just as much as if all you're calling is, you know, past the ocean chain reaction. And they probably appreciate it more because they're getting the whole program. You're not going to get it as often, but you should still get it. Yes, Guido.
A couple of years ago, we had a dance. Some of the callers in Edeltraud's Caller School wanted to have a celebration for 20 years of something. She reluctantly gave in, and we've got a theme. We call basic, and we incorporate the 3/4 tag formation. Get in with basic calls, get out with basic calls, just basic calls. 10 callers on stage during the evening or afternoon. No dancer noticed that this was only basic, because of the rather challenging basic, because of going into a 3/4 tag formation and getting out of a 3/4 tag formation with good flow, with different calls, with different get in, get out stuff. And from one dancer, she got a feedback. A dance like this lets you endure a bad club caller for an entire year.
That is probably the best feedback any caller could receive. You know, that's the advertisement right there. And that's what the dancer is going to remember you. That's why they're going to talk about you. That's what they're going to want to come back to.
And the dance was advertised as mainstream because we didn't want to have the classes in there.
Yeah.
This would have limited us in calling at that point. It was just the limit for the callers. Don't use the mainstream calls, use basic.
Yeah. The issue that you would have there, depending on where you are in the world, if you had advertised a mainstream dance, but you were going to just use basic and use innovative basic, you might have lost a number of floors depending on where you're at. I know, like if you're dancing where you are in that part of Europe or in the Czech Republic, you probably wouldn't have that much trouble. You might have a little bit of trouble depending on where you are in the rest of the world. One of the issues that's going on is what Guido's saying there really brings home. If you're hired to do a plus dance and they're good plus dancers, it's a solid plus floor. You know, there's none of the mainstream dancers are going to be, they've been dancing for 10 years. It's a good solid DBD plus. And you open up with, do an Alaman left your corner, turn partner right to a wrong way thar. Turn a what, a who's? We don't do that here. Oh, okay, not a problem. Swing through, box the nat, right? A box of what? No, we don't do box the nat here because that's not plus. You will face that. If you have not already faced that in your calling, you will face that. That's why those sessions on judging a floor and the capabilities are absolutely crucial. They may be able to do an inverted cross split and exchange the gears. I don't even know if that's a call. I'm just making stuff up now. They might be able to do that from an inverted whoppity splash, but can they do a recycle from a left-hand wave? Probably not. Because whose fault is that? It's not theirs. It's ours as callers. We need to use the material we have. I've danced with Jeff. I've danced with Alan. I've danced with Betsy, Roz, John. I know that you have the ability to use the material and a limited amount of material in front of you to make a good innovative dance. And that's what we as callers need to strive right across the board. Don't rush them just because the movements are there. Don't rush them up to plus. Don't rush them up to whatever. Let them take the time, enjoy the movement, feel the success of the movement, enjoy the program, feel the success of the program, and let them make the choice, as we had with this right here. That's your growth. And here, they've got the choice to enjoy basic or mainstream, whatever the program is. They can go up back to class, or they can come all the way back here and start again, or they can just stay here and dance this. That is, to me, a much better option of enjoying the program and making the choice themselves than what we have right now. Here's your typical dancer path today. New dancer, basic, basic, basic. Oh, well, let's start using a few mainstream programs. We're going to get halfway through the mainstream program, finish the basic program. Okay, you now finish basics, but we got to do the mainstream. Oh, we're going to graduate, but I've already started introducing half the plus program. We're going to graduate basic and mainstream, and now we're here. And oh, yeah, okay, we're here at the end of the year. Oh, there's an A1 workshop being done this summer. You should come. This is the part that I don't like about this. This goes down and has a place to go. From here, they've got no place to go because they can't dance basic, they can't dance mainstream. From here, they've got no place to go because they can't dance mainstream, they can't dance plus, and nobody's doing a basic class anymore. They've got no basic dancing anywhere. And the list goes on. And this is our progression over the same amount of time. We as callers have done this. We as callers have to stop this. Okay. You probably hear me saying it an awful lot. We've got to make the program shorter. We've got to make the program shorter. We've got to make the program shorter. we got to get the dancers dancing and having fun in a shorter period of time. I'm sorry, but with that many movements, if you can't have the dancers dancing and having a good time and give them a good innovative dance, put your microphone away. I'm saying that not politically correct, blunt. If you cannot do that, put your microphone away. If you're a new caller learning, I understand that. But if you're an experienced caller and you can't give a good, solid, interesting, fun dance, or you ever say to a dancer, come to plus, it's the fun level, then you should not be calling.
For
Yes,
the
Ross.
same group more than once.
Yeah. Ross.
Yes, we've got a learners class at the moment. We're in SSD, we're week 5. Some of our dancers were struggling, some had missed weeks and only done things once. So I decided we'd have a couple of weeks of just consolidation, just purely catching up, refining things. And then Friday night, we introduced a couple of moves and they were dancing so much better and having so much more fun because they felt more confident. But rather than push on, I can't see the benefit of pushing on if they haven't grasped what they've learned.
Absolutely. Just a question. How long is your evening dance?
We start at 7, we finish at 9:30, but we've got alternate SSD mainstream.
Okay, so you've got...
And luckily, the 2 nights we decided to consolidate, we didn't have enough for mainstream. So we were able to do learners the whole night, which was really great to do that for 2 weeks.
Yep.
We got company.
Who's that?
Don.
Oh, Don's been here for a while.
I just let him back in.
Oh, okay.
I
Hello, Don. Welcome back.
I had to check out for a few minutes, but I'm back. or maybe I'm not. All you're seeing is my sky here. I know what the problem is. That should do it. Here we go.
Okay, so this is like, I know we've sort of diversed on the topic here, but if you look at the SSD program, okay, so there's your lesson 1. Got a courtesy turn in here, okay, that's fine, and a ladies chain, that's part of your family. Pass through, wheel around, reverse wheel around. Most of those are not a problem. This is a teaching order. Don't have a problem. You've done the right-hand star, you've done the left-hand star. Star through and slide through. Okay, I can accept that, except where are you going to go with that? What have you got to lead into the star through? What have you got to lead away from the star through? Okay, other than here, great. You've moved California twirl down here and dive through. But now you've got bend the line and you turn back. That should have been up there as far as I'm concerned, but it doesn't matter. Square through. Now we're at lesson 4. We're in the Color Lab program, you'd be at lesson 6. There's still a lot of material. Lesson 6, this is where you should be doing 2 to 3 movements a night because now the dancers need to learn this and get comfortable. But once you get past lesson 4 of 2 movements, that's your relaxation move. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 movements there. 1, 2, 3 movements there with the 4 movements there with the variations. You've got 1, 2 variations, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 movements there. When are they getting time to actually enjoy and put all of this together? When you have, and I'm just using yours, I'm not saying it's your program, Ross, when you've got 2.5 hours, so you've got a 2-hour program basically if you include breaks. So the dancers have 1 hour a night of instruction and dancing to learn, to grow, to master, or to take that time and then to enjoy it. There isn't any because it's learn, 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 learn. That's the triple S curve. And it's not easy. That to me is just an inherent flaw in the SSD program, but it's designed not to grow with the movements, it's designed to learn these movements, and this is it. unfortunately, and this isn't you, but a lot of places that I've talked to that are doing SSD, they do SSD. We're getting them on the floor in 12 weeks, and then we're putting them in the mainstream class. That way we are in the mainstream group. That way we can teach them the rest of the mainstream program and get them there faster. The mainstream dancers don't mind because they'll pull them through, and we can get more dancers on the floor. We can get 3 or 4 classes in dancing mainstream in a year, where before we could only do 1. And I still look at that and I say, yeah, you're only getting 20% retention still. Well, 20% retention of 500 dancers of years gone by is very different than I've got 9 dancers, I'm retaining 20. Yeah, but you're also losing 10% of your regular club.
But Roz
every
isn't
year.
just sticking to a 12-week. It's
No,
taking
I know that. That's why I mentioned Roz. Roz is doing the sensible thing. She's saying, right, this is the program I'm using. I'm maximizing the use of it. And if it takes me 12 weeks, if it takes me 14, if it takes me 20, or if it takes me 30 weeks, that's what I'm going to take for my dancers. And that's why I didn't want to get this into a program. What I said with the SSD program is it is inherently flawed because it has an escalation curve that goes at 45%, jumps to 60%, peaks, jumps to 60%, peaks, and then jumps again up at a 60%, a 60-degree angle. That is not a learning curve. A learning curve should never be that steep, never more than 45%. And then plateau, you've got to have plateaus built into it. Yes, Ross?
Regardless of whether you're doing SSD or basics, you have to know how the dancers are going, how they're coping, where there's problems and issues.
Absolutely.
And you just don't move on, and you might give something with a little bit of variation. You could do introduce a move that flows on if they've grasped the basics for that move. But just knowing what your dancers can cope with. And you've usually got one that's really, really struggling. So you still can't hold back the ones that are picking it up well, because they'll get bored. So it's a real balance, and calling's a real balance no matter what.
Yeah. I agree. Yolanda,
Yes.
you put a comment in the open chat there.
Mhm.
You have a dancer with vertigo, and that's fine. Vertigo is exacerbated because it's probably a bit of an inner ear issue, which is causing that dizziness when you start getting into any kind of twirls or turns. I have, just looking at that, okay, so you're excluding right and left through.
That's what I was asking.
Hear me out. You're excluding do-si-do, right and left. Or are you asking, should I exclude these movements?
No. That's what when I went up to Mike, as I'm going up to Mike, I was asked not to do these moves. And I may be calling for this group again. So next time I want to be more prepared. This time I just went and
so
took them out.
the issue I have with this, if this person has vertigo and a movement like right and left through, okay, I can understand that because you got the tight turn. But do-si-do, I don't understand that with vertigo. The backward action is not going to be any different than the backward action on a wheel around or bend the line or that kind of stuff.
Assuming
right
they're
and
doing
left-
it correctly.
Yeah, a right and left grand or a weave the ring. Okay, if those are causing a vertigo issue, and movements like square through is not, star through is not, and so forth, or star through, pass through, bend the line is not, then this is not a vertigo problem, or this is a selective, I don't want to dance these movements, or I'm not dancing these movements properly. That's something that I think you were alluding to, Betsy, if that was you that said that. You need to actually have a talk with that dancer. If you get the opportunity, maybe get together with another couple and just see where the issues lie with that, because that does not sound like a vertigo problem. That's a selective choice. I'm having problems with these movements, and there's probably a reason why they're having problems.
No, this is not that they're having problems. Like, this is an experienced dancer that is.
Yeah, because if right and left through, I can see if he's doing a pivot on that because it's too quick. But if right and left grand and weave the ring are causing problems and square through is not, there's something fundamentally wrong. That's not a vertigo issue.
Can I just chime in for a moment? Can I just chime in for a moment? My wife, Robin, is going through a current episode of vertigo, first time in her life. And there are 2 types of vertigo. One is a viral infection of the inner ear membranes. The other is where crystals in your ear let go, and that's directional, or what they call rotational vertigo. And interestingly enough, it can be just only left turns that will trigger them, or just right turns, or looking down or looking up. It really just depends on the person's actual makeup, where the crystals have released, and they're losing the orientation between their body and what their brain's thinking, because it communicates with the brain. And so you've just got to be aware of trying to figure out whether it's an infection type vertigo, or which movement affects them the most. It can be just looking down. It could be looking to the right or turning right or whatever. So yeah, it's a difficult issue to deal with. Robin literally couldn't get out of bed or walk or stand. That's how dramatic it can be. But as it eases off, of course, they are doing the normal things in life, but suddenly they get triggered.
Yeah. And I wasn't going into the medical aspects of it, but this is why I was saying, if you have the opportunity to get together with them, just see how they're doing the movements. And I think this is what you were alluding to as well as Betsy. It could be there's something that they're doing or not doing properly that does it, as you say, if it's all right, or if it's a right and left grand or a weave the ring, where are they looking? Are they watching feet? Because if you're looking down, everything is opened up in that canal. It's going down and it's affecting all those portions. And it might be as simple as, when you dance with your head up straight and erect. That might be a fix. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. But if you watch and see what happens and how it happens, chances are you can actually talk to this person, because they may be completely unaware of, every time I do a right and left grand, I'm looking down to see hands, I get dizzy. It could be something as simple. It could be, as Alan was saying, it could be right and left grand. I'm always going this way. See if it happens on a wrong way grand.
But certainly no swinging. Certainly no swinging would be the first step I would take.
Yeah. Well, no, the group isn't doing swinging at all. So that yeah.
You're looking tired, Helen.
Yolanda,
Yeah,
sometimes
that's what I'm typing. I have to leave now. It's 3 a.m, and this has been really interesting, but I just have to leave.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks
Just
very
a
much.
reminder, you're quite welcome. Just a reminder, there is no session next week. We'll be back on the 3rd with Jeff Priest, talking about the difference between fun and frustration, which is a very important topic. And then we're going to be switching to a fortnightly program. So every 2 weeks.
Well, thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Bye, Ellen.
Bye.
Bye.
Yolanda, sometimes people with vertigo need to work out what they can do as well and how they can get around it. We had one that couldn't do roll away, so she just sashayed in front of the person. And of course she didn't do swinging. So sometimes they have to adjust, because if they get a different caller and they call a move, they need to know how they can get around it or work with it.
I just figured, since we were limiting stuff and some of you guys are really good at choreography, I just wanted to give you another challenge that you could get.
Is that what it is?
Go for it.
That's how it was meant to be, not to fix the vertigo. It was like, this is what I came upon, and if you guys,
well, this is what I was saying. Like with right and left through, if it's the turn that is the issue, okay, is it a tight turn? Is you've taken away your wheel around, you've taken away your reverse wheel around, depending on the direction. You've taken away the star through California twirl. You've taken away, that's not this, but your star through face in. You've taken away U-turn back. You've taken away the California twirl. You've taken away the dive through. And if those movements are not causing problems, that means there's something elsewhere. And it could be just where you're looking or what you're doing or where your hands are placed with your body. But those are something, and ideally as a caller, if they're interested in dancing and really want to dance, if you make that time, they'll make that time to help you maybe see that, oh, this might be something I didn't know. I can talk to my doctor. Yes, Betsy.
I have a question. Is it somebody who dances the ladies' part or the man's part? Because that could impact what you could use.
He's a very experienced dancer.
It's a man.
So, and he dances both. This is just something that's happened. So. he just fills in now when when we need to fill a square kind of thing. And I just wanted to be better prepared next time. So I thought, well, if you guys have come across this, then
Yolanda, too, if it's the crystallizations, they can do exercises to help move the crystals. Because I've had a few people that have do that. I don't know how successful it is, but physio might be.
I do want to shy away from getting down that realm of medical advice.
yeah, that's
You
not
are
what I
right. There
wanted.
are
I
crystals,
just
but what I would say is if you can help him isolate where he's having the most problems, he can speak to his doctor about that, and they would be able to assist more to say what it is that we can and can't do. Because
I just
those
wanted to know.
movements there basically limits him to any movement in square dancing. If he's having trouble with those, practically all of your movements in square dancing are going to be limited by that. But if
Yeah.
it's only those movements, could be something underlying. So have a look. But I really don't want to give medical advice or have
No, that's not
medical
what I was
suggestions.
asking for. I
No,
just
I
wanted
know
to
that.
know if you guys
I
have come
just
across.
comments are coming in. I wanted to try and stay away. Sorry about that, Roz. I just want to try and shy away from that if we can.
Yeah, that's not what that was what this was about.
Yeah, no, I understand it. Mickey, do you have your hand up, or is that just your thumb going across the camera?
You're muted.
Can't hear you.
And can I just? I'm gonna have to go pretty soon. I have to go on the floor, so I'm gonna just keep recording after I leave.
No worries. I don't think we're going to have too long of a stay after this, unless everybody wants to keep going. Mickey, I don't know if you were saying something, but you were muted.
Oh, I guess this is your revenge from the meeting this morning, or it was your night, right?
Okay.
No, I was just checking the chat, so I hadn't had my finger
Oh,
up.
okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. So those 5 little exercises that I posted there, like I said, that the movements that were displayed, that is from the old teaching order, which was the basic and mainstream teaching order. Slight modification. I think half sachet was on this at the same time of week 6 with dive through in California, twirl, and half sachet were all there. Roll whip was already done, but that is from the older program. I use that specifically because different callers have different programs. I personally don't care what instruction program you use. The best program to use is the one that works for you and your dancers, that they can succeed and enjoy and wallow in that enjoyment. There's your start, there's your work, the effort that goes in, there's the plateau, there's the time to enjoy that plateau and master it and really enjoy that movement with everything that you know, and then move on to the next one. And it should be a linear progression of that rising S. Don't mix and match it. Don't start throwing too much at them because it's easier for you. And if you do that, your dancers are going to advertise you. Betsy hasn't been calling for 355 years because she's got such a lovely personality, a singing voice. It's because she makes it fun on the floor and it's smooth and it's comfortable to dance to. And I know she probably won't come back to Australia to hit me in the back of the head with a frying pan for saying she's 350 years old either. But she might.
I look good for that age.
Damn good. So there's all those things that follow into it. But if you follow that simple program, that simple policy, which is written into, that's what square dancing is about. Every bit of our documentation says to do this for the dancers, give them the best experience and maximize their time to use what they know. And almost everything that we do puts that philosophy and fundamental principle right out the window. That, to me, I don't have a problem with the SSD program, but to me, that was the inherent flaw in it. It is a very steep escalator. But if that's all the program is, and it's designed for that with no extensions, no other material other than what you're going to teach on a night and use it, it can work. But it's 24 hours of instruction time, not 12 weeks of dancing at 1 hour a night, not 12 weeks of dancing every third tip. It's 24 hours of instruction. That means 12 nights of 2.5 hours at least, where that includes your break. So you get 24 hours of instruction time. That's how that would work. Keep that in mind. Don't go on calendars. It's like saying an experienced caller Mark has been calling for 27 years. He has been a member of the Callers Association for 27 years. Every Christmas dance, he picks up his record and he goes up and he calls that same dance. He's been doing it for 27 years, and he's been a paid member of the Callers Association for 27 years. He's got 27 years experience. Don Beck is a new caller. He's been calling for just 3 years now. He calls 5 nights a week and he calls 4 days a week, but he's still a new caller. That's how we're judging people. Doesn't matter what your experience is. The thing is to give the dancers the best experience to learn, grow, and master what they know and enjoy it. So they make the choice to stay. Don't make it for them. Been a long issue. For those of you that attend Don's classes, Don will not be presenting next week or the following week. There's the National Convention in the States and the 4th of July weekend. You are going to be back after that, and he's got one heck of a lineup for the next 5 weeks. He's doing much greater than I am, getting people to give me their schedules and sign up. Mickey, Betsy, Don, Jeff,
No.
Rito.
It hadn't been that way, but it all gelled all of a sudden. They all came back.
Yeah, that's what happened to me last year.
And fortunately, I wanted a different weekend.
Yeah. But I do hope for those of you that won't be coming in next weekend or on the 3rd of July for Jeff Breeze, I hope you have a fantastic 4th of July in the States. I wish you all the best and enjoy your calling. This will be posted in the chat or in the OC callers. Once again, thank you, Mark, as always, for being there, for posting this, for posting the sessions from Dawn, all the caller class sessions and all the trainings and all the notes that go with them. It is an invaluable resource for a lot of people to be able to access and download that material. So thank you very much. Couldn't do it without you. Anybody else have anything they would like to discuss, look at, play with? All right, then. You guys all have a great rest of the weekend, and I hope I see you across the square sometime.
Thanks, Mel. Great class.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mel.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you,
Bye,
Mark.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, bye.